is that Sword and Shield are really good games.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Please don't. I just started talking to a girl from Ancestry.com.
Pokemon on the Switch overall has had some lacking times, but I think that we judged this game a little too harshly. This was the first new Pokemon generation on the Switch, and I think that it did a really good job of making that transition. This game also suffers from graphical issues like Scarlet and Violet, but it's way less pronounced. The wild area suffers from graphical issues, but at the end of the day, the routes and cities look great. I think that Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing are hit or miss. I didn't think they were crazy, but I didn't think they were bad. This was also the first Pokemon game to implement DLC instead of a third title, and I think that was a good idea for this game. Before the DLC, this game felt really flat, and I don't like that they paywalled extra content, but if I had to pick between paying $40 for a DLC and $60 for a new game, I would pick the DLC. And I like both of these DLCs way better than Scarlet and Violet's, but I think Sword and Shield are extremely overhated. The switch up on Pokemon X and Y is unreal to me. People used to trash on this game for not being a good game, and now people are loving it. And I've always liked this game, and I think it did a really good job of jumping from the DS to the 3DS. The biggest issue with this game is it was a big downgrade graphics-wise. The 3D models just did not look great at the time, they still don't to this day, where the sprites before it looked ageless. I like Team Flare as a villain organization, but they're pretty forgettable. And I think the whole AZ story arc was really nice. But Mega Evolutions really carried this game. I think it was the best way they could have introduced gimmicks to Pokemon. I just wish that they added more of them and they felt more unique. But I'm glad that people are starting to realize that these games are perfect middle-of-the-road Pokemon games. Ruby and Sapphire were the first games in the Game Boy Advance, and they were really fun. Seeing Pokemon in color like this for the first time was crazy. And I think both of these games did a really good job of making that leap. These games have a few issues which makes them annoying to go back and play. In the mid to late game, you have to surf a lot. I don't think that Team Aqua and Team Magma were great villain organizations. Other than those, these games were great. They introduced double battles for the first time, they had a ton of great new Pokemon, and they had my favorite legendaries in the series. Even though there are better ways to play this generation, these games still hold their own. Now, Fire Red and Leaf Green are both great. I'm not a Gen 1er, but I do understand where they're coming from. But I think that Fire Red and Leaf Green are the best way to play the Kanto region. They added a lot of new content like the islands. They were a lot more balanced than the originals. And they only made changes that made these games more accessible than the original. And it even had gambling. I love the Gen 1 games. I wouldn't say they're the best, but they hold their own extremely well. Legends Arceus was something I did not expect Pokemon to produce, but they did it and it worked really well. I didn't think going back in time was going to be a mechanic that worked for Pokemon, but it did really well. I like how this game had the option of doing quests. It gave me a lot of things to do, which made it really fun to play. I like how interactive the catching was. It was like a stealth simulator for Pokemon. But just like all the other games, this game had issues. I didn't like the Hisuian versions of most Pokemon. Like, I love Arcanine, but I don't like how this Arcanine looks like he ate a bunch of rocks. The gameplay does start to feel repetitive towards the end of the game, but I think this game did a really good job of trying something new and doing it well. I didn't think this game was going to do well because it had to compete with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but it ended up being the complete opposite. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire took everything that was great about Ruby and Sapphire and just made it so much better. These remakes were really fun, especially as someone who loves the Generation 3 games. I think these games did a perfect job of implementing new Pokemon mechanics into an old favorite. Adding Mega Evolution to this game was something that I didn't think was going to work very well, but they ended up knocking it out of the park. These games also benefit from being newer, so they had things like the physical and special split, which made these games feel like they were a lot fresher. And even though it was really short, I think having the Delta episode was just a great way to acknowledge old fans. It was really short, but it gave acknowledgement to the fans who had been playing for years. To this day, these games just amaze me, and they're one of the games I play through the most often. I really like Pokemon Black and White. I understand they're divisive, but they are still so fun. It stinks that we didn't get more games on this engine because these games look beautiful. The sprites felt so alive, and all the battles felt cinematic. The problem with these games is that they didn't allow you to use Pokemon out of this region. So a lot of people got stuck using Pokemon they don't like, which alienated a large portion of the fan base. But for fans who could get over the hump, they got to experience the best story that Pokemon has ever had. Team Plasma was really great, and I think if these games just did things a little bit differently, they could have been way better. Pokemon Platinum was just a great game from start to finish. It really showed how good Generation 4 could truly be. I'm really upset that Diamond and Pearl and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl couldn't be this good. This game took the elements that made Gen 4 so fun and just added on to them. This game made the story flow better, it made the game play better, and it added things that are so iconic to this day like the Distortion World. This game really showed that if Pokemon takes their time and listens to the fans, they can make a game that's a better version of what they currently have. Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the best Pokemon remakes. They took everything that was great about Generation 2 and they just added onto it. Having Pokemon follow you on your journey was such a great idea, and it added so much connection to your teams and made it hard to put these games down even after you beat them. It had all of the content from Gold, Silver, and Crystal with 16 gyms and all of the world to explore and made it better. The fight with Red at the end is one of the best in the series, and even though this game suffered from pacing issues, it still was one of the best Pokemon experiences that you could possibly have. Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 just did everything right. It made it so you could use Pokemon that you wanted throughout the story. It was a continuation of one of the best stories in Pokemon that held its own really well, and it had an incredible post-game that was full of content. These games just did so many things so perfectly, and it all combined it into one of the best Pokemon packages you can get. I didn't play these games until a few months after they came out, but these games did something so special. This game did a really good job at continuing what Black and White has set in motion, and if you haven't played it, I recommend you do. But the best Pokemon game has to be Pokemon Emerald. This game is a little bit dated, but if you play through this game, you'll understand why this game is held to such a high standard. It took everything that was great about Ruby and Sapphire and improved upon it. It had a better story, better pacing, and is an overall better experience. There's a reason why this game is used for Nuzlocke and ROM hacks to this day. There's something about this game that draws in fans new and old, and I can understand why. Maybe it's because Rayquaza is one of the coolest legendaries of all time, but if you haven't played Emerald, which is almost nobody, you should. Rating every Pokemon. Bulbasaur is the first Pokemon and arguably the most iconic. It's a weird combination of plant, toad, and dinosaur that all comes together to make an incredibly cute design. It perfectly resembles a grass-type Pokemon, but doesn't really show any signs of being a poison type, so for design it gets a 4. Grass and poison is not a bad type combination at all. Having a weakness to 4 types isn't great, but resisting 5 is. So for typing, he's also getting a 4. Being a starter Pokemon, it's incredibly easy to get a Bulbasaur in any Kanto game, along with Pokemon X and Y, which give you a free Kanto starter in the game, easily getting a 5 in availability. In the Kanto region, Bulbasaur is an incredible pick for the early game, being super effective against the first 2 gym leaders, Brock and Misty. Though it's a little less useful in the middle and late game, he still gets a 4 on usefulness, in total giving Bulbasaur a 4.25 out of 10. So make sure you come back next time, because the Switch 2 is taking over the internet, and not in a good way. The console and games look spectacular, but the prices are out of this world. When Tears of the Kingdom came out, it cost $70. So going into the new generation, I expected that to be the precedent, but apparently we're just skipping that and going straight to $80. It's Mario Kart, it's going to sell a bajillion units, but $80 is going to price out a lot of people, especially when the console itself is going to cost $450. So if you don't get the bundle, you're dropping $530 on day one for a console and one game. But at least we're getting a new Kirby Air Ride. But there is a chance Nintendo can save themselves from what they've done. I made a full video about it. Are you picking up the Switch too? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you want to win one. What is Nintendo planning for Mario's 40th? We're getting a new Mario Kart, but of course you're gonna have to sell both your legs to get it. But that can't be the only thing we're getting. I'm expecting Mario Sunshine and the GameCube Mario parties to come to NSO. I wouldn't be shocked if we got a second 3D All-Stars collection, with games like Galaxy 2, 64DS, and 3D Land coming to the console, or even improved versions of all the new Super Mario Bros. Games in one package. It may be a stretch, but we could get a new Mario Baseball, but I'll be happy as long as the games don't cost $80 each. Video games that we haven't gotten in too long. Where's the new F-Zero? F-Zero 99 doesn't count. We're getting F-Zero GX on NSO, but that is not enough. I want a new Paper Mario, but not this. Give me something like Thousand Year Door, and I will give you all of my money. Up to $80. Golden Sun, where have you gone? It has been far too long. I would trade both of my legs for a new Banjo-Kazooie. He's in Smash Bros. Give him a game. I want Wii Sports on Switch. And no, I don't mean Switch Sports. I want Wii Sports on Switch. Characters that need to come to Mario Kart, because apparently they're just adding anyone. Where's my man Toadsworth? I haven't seen this guy in 10 years. The mustache on this man is insane. Geno deserves a spot in Mario Kart. Mario RPG is great, and so is he. I want the fat Luma that I force feed in Mario Galaxy. I feel like nobody's checked on him in a while, and he deserves a spot. Also, Funky Kong. What? Like, why is he not here yet? Let's round it out with Dr. Mario. Listen, I get it, we already have Mario, but this guy can give me prescription medication. More characters that need to come to Mario Kart World. Where's my boy Petey? I waited patiently for him to come back in Mario Kart 8, and they took him again. I'm not a big fan of the Koopalings, but I want Roy specifically. The glasses. He's the pinnacle of style. Give me one of those spiny things. You know the things that you beat with a hammer in Mario Party? I think it would be a good racer. Where is Diddy Kong? I get it, it's a rough time for the name Diddy, but he can come back. As much as I miss Dry Bowser, I want Dry Donkey Kong. It doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean it can't.